поважності президент України Володимир Зеленський, президент Союзу Коморських островів Азалі Асумані, президент Південно-Африканської Республіки Cyril Ramaphosa.
You're absolutely right. We are proceeding to meet President Putin, and one of the things I'm going to be doing is to have a bilateral meeting with President Putin to discuss the BRICS summit as well. So that matter is still under consideration by ourselves in South Africa, by our government. We are discussing this matter on a continuous basis. And I have said, both in South Africa and elsewhere, that in the end, I am the one who will make the announcement about how this BRICS summit is going to be made. It's going to be held. So that is what we will do. And of course, we are going to be listening, as I said, to President Putin as well. We are going to put forward the various key elements that I articulated to him and have a discussion with him. Like today, we had a very robust and very fulfilling discussion with President Zelensky. If you were a fly on the wall, you would have heard the number of viewpoints that were exchanged between us, because we went into greater details and depth than what you are able to ask us to respond to. So there are many issues that we covered, and as I said, we had a very honest discussion, and we are hoping to have exactly the same with President Putin. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, as you correctly say, we are going to St. Petersburg. We are going to see President Putin. And in the key elements that I pointed out, I did say that as all of us here, we respect the UN Charter. For us, that is a very important and key charter that unites various countries of the world. And in our discussions with President Putin, we will be talking about the importance of the UN Charter. And we're not the first group that is calling for a peaceful settlement, that has articulated the issue of respect for the sovereignty of countries. Many others have, and so we are also reiterating what has been said. And another key element that I spoke to was that there should be security for all countries, and indeed both countries. They should have a sense of security that their own sovereignty and standing is also secured. And that's another key issue that also needs to be discussed. The quest for peace, in our view, is an important one. And the launching of the missiles today, in our view, does not deter us and has not stopped us from continuing to call for de-escalation. It is precisely this type of event that we saw today, or witnessed, or even experienced, that makes us call for de-escalation. And there are offensives on both sides, and we are saying those must be de-escalated as both countries proceed on the road to peace. And the road to peace is not an easy one. It's often a very difficult one. We also, from our own country, had to traverse that difficult road to peace. And even when the conflict becomes most intense, that is when peace should be made and be found. I specifically remember the efforts of the founding father of our democracy, President Mandela, who, even when he was in prison and apartheid was at its highest and its worst, he said this was the time for us to enter into negotiations to bring the nightmare of apartheid to an end. So we do believe that even at this stage, even as there's intensification of the conflict, there should be de-escalation, and there should be commitment to peace, and we should find ways of ensuring that indeed there's negotiations and there's also a movement towards settling this conflict. As we said, this conflict is also affecting African countries negatively, touching on the livelihoods of 1.2 or 1.3 billion people on the African continent who are being negatively affected. And that is what has also brought us here, as I said. We do want this conflict to be settled. It is going to be to the benefit of the peoples in the world as well as the peoples of Africa. Thank you.
Збройні сили, включаючи найманців, вагнерівців, тому що вони б'ють ракетами по лідерам інших держав, які, до речі, після нас вирішили поїхати до держави, яка сьогодні відповідно влаштувала ракетний удар по них. Це рішення їх.
We came here to listen, and to listen with a great deal of respect and recognition of what the people of Ukraine have been going through. We did go to Bucha and we saw what had happened there, and I've been told that there are investigations, the International Court is going on with that, and I think from where we stand, that process should be allowed to go on. And in our view, it is important to listen very carefully to what both countries have to say. And tomorrow we are now going to listen to President Putin. And let me say that having been the one person who also, on behalf of the 7 countries, called both presidents, I got a distinct impression that, yes, they were willing not only to receive us, but also to hear what the proposals or the suggestions we would put on the table. That, to me, told me that there is a willingness to get this war to come to an end. And President Zelensky has said so, of course. He has said that they have their 10-point formula, and which we listened to. And tomorrow we listen to President Putin. And as President Macky Sall said, we will then be able, together, the 7 countries, to come up with a summary. And what we are really heartened with is that there's a willingness for further engagements with us as African countries, and that in the end is going to enable us to have further discussions and also analyzing the views of both countries. So tomorrow we listen to President Putin. Today, having listened to a very honest and a heartfelt account from President Zelensky, and we thank him for having been so direct and having been so honest about giving us an account of what is happening here in the Ukraine. Thank you.